This is the Ruger American Gen 2 re-review. Why re-review? We reviewed this gun a year and a half ago, and something has changed. I was at the Pew vending establishment this week, and there is only now $90 difference between a Ruger American Gen 2 and a Tikka T3X Superlight, at least where I saw them in that one case. But when we started reviewing the Ruger American Gen 1, it was under $350 when this channel began reviewing that. And it's changed a lot. I mean, inflation's gone up, but things haven't, totally doubled everything. And so can it compete now that there's the Tikka T3X Superlight in such close proximity to this and the CVA Cascade? When we originally reviewed this, we reviewed it in 223, which is a fine cartridge, but it kind of is a little bit of a cheat code, just being so low recoil that sometimes you can see problems in a rifle get mashed. This one's a little bit, slightly bigger. This is a 6.5 Creedmoor, which is going to be a more fair comparison because we've reviewed those other rifles in 6.5 Creedmoor as well. Throughout this review, we're going to be shooting a 5-shot group. We're going to fully let it cool with a bunch of different ammo, and we're going to be shooting different groups. So at the end of the review, we should have the accuracy numbers, like true solid test, to see what we can really expect out of this rifle. The Ruger American Gen 2 that we reviewed in 223 is shooting half minute. That's extremely impressive. 6.5 Creedmoor is generally accurate, and so let's see if we can get similar results here. It's only a 3-shot magazine that comes in this particular variant. I do really like this paint job though. What's going on here? That was the problem with the Ruger Gen 1. Just feeding was not good. What's going on? Well, we're off to a pretty bad start. Okay, we're good. Huh, all right. That should not have been that hard. Put on a Burris full field scope for this. Wanted to test it out. I like there's not much ring, the black ring around the outside. Even some expensive scopes have that. It really drives me nuts. The trigger is so bad. I forgot how bad these Ruger triggers are. Now, the difference between the Ruger Gen 1 and Gen 2 is everything. I mean, this looks so much better, but they're using, I think, the same trigger as far as I know. Right now, I think all the drama going on with SIG and the P320, there have been lots of people claiming that the guns have been going off without pulling the trigger and stuff. The manufacturers are terrified to even touch the trigger. And so if they have a trigger that's safe and it's been around for decades, nobody wants to touch it. For a Gen 2 of the Ruger American, I really wish we had an upgraded trigger, because it's just a long, gritty pull on that trigger. Woo, okay. Well, I don't think we're going to need to shoot multiple groups of this thing. And here's our group from the Nosler. We're 1.5 inches there.
Man, Nosler just never works, does it?
I don't know. I mean, it's expensive stuff. Have you seen how much they're charging for a box?
Last time I was at the Pew vending establishment, $100 premium Nosler.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that this stuff, or I don't know what lines they have. I think Nosler makes decent ammo. You actually get decent brass from Nosler if you're going to reload it. And there have been some that I've seen good, but yeah, they're getting expensive, that's for sure. Now, because the trigger is so bad, I am going to go upstairs here and grab the Rodzilla. It's a huge rest that's used in F-class, extremely heavy, and like way overkill for a hunting rifle. Reason I want to use it for this though is because when you have a really bad trigger in a really lightweight rifle, you can see the crosshairs just getting off during your trigger pull, even if you're trying to do the best you can. And this thing will just help those crosshairs to go a little bit more dead. So we can see the accuracy potential of the barrel. But keep in mind, using something like this, we may, hopefully, get more accuracy than you could reasonably expect out of a hunting rifle when you get it, because you're going to be shooting it off a bipod, unless you were to upgrade the trigger in it. And there are a lot of aftermarket triggers for the Ruger American Gen 2. That sounded really complaining. It's heavy, pulley, it's gritty. The cool thing about these is to make your fine adjustments, you just have this rod and just see how it moves the front by just moving this rod back here. So cool for making your fine adjustments. Going to the next load here, we have Hornady, Sig Platinum Hunter, and this is the one that if I had to guess with a new rifle, the ammo that it's gonna shoot best, it's Sig Marksman Elite. Not sponsored, we paid for this, and I would say 9 times out of 10, that Sig Marksman Elite has been the best ammo for us. All right, that's 5. Let's go see how it is. Spoke too soon on that ammo, I guess. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Went into the wood there. So we're about the same, about 1.5 inch group on both groups. Now, I wouldn't drive really any conclusion from this. We're gonna try more ammo, give it more shots, may even need to clean it. When I first saw the Ruger Gen 2 was announced, the thing that got me really excited was the stock. They did a really nice upgrade to the stock in a lot of ways. One, they have a cool paint job on it now. Just looks nice, just kind of this splatter. I called it a vomit texture in the last video. Some kind of spackle. Somebody commented and was like, I can't remember what they said. Like some kind of Italian. That's called the geospeclio. I don't remember, can't remember. Anyway, vomit texture, looks really good. I love the burnt bronze and the green. I know Garrett's a fan of that.
Big fan.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. It also comes in the gray variant, if that's your preference.
It's aight, but it's not as cool.
It's okay. I do like the green for sure. They did a good job with I like the spiral fluting, just looks cool, but also they gave this barrel enough meat so it doesn't heat up quite as much. I like that because I don't want to see shots 4 and 5 starting to kick out on those spaghetti noodle thin barrels. They kept a lot of traditional stock lines, which I wish we had kind of pushed forward. You know, it's rounded here, and so when you go to balance on a tree or whatever, you just don't have a stable platform to shoot accurately. I don't know why we do that on rifles. They have an angled heel. You'll see this one's missing the cheek piece we had to take off, but I loosened this buttstock so you can see what's happening here. So they have kind of a complicated mechanism that does allow you to get some length of pull adjustment here. You'll also see here the 2 different recoil pads. This is the factory recoil pad, and this is now the backstop recoil pad is available for the Ruger Gen 2 and Gen 1. The reason, when I saw the factory, I thought, oh, sweet, it's a good recoil pad, because you see these big cavities here. But if you look in, there's a hard line right in the middle of it. And so it's super, super soft on the edge, doing very little. And then in the middle, there's a hard line. And so it just creates a hot spot when you're shooting it's a thin little area for the same amount of force. And then the backstop recoil pad just soaks that up like a champ. This backstop is also tuned to the recoil of your rifle. And so if it's a 6.5 Creedmoor, you're going to get a different recoil pad than if you shoot a 300 Win Mag. We'll ask the details of, do you use a muzzle brake and stuff, and then we'll give you a recoil pad that is tuned to that rifle's recoil. It's pretty cool. So I like a lot of the upgrades they had here. They also kind of have a nice cut in that just looks cool, but also gives it some rigidity in theory. But listen to this. Barely any force. you can see the stock contacts the barrel. And if it contacts it on some and not on others, it can cause accuracy issues. I wish they had just cut out a bigger space around the barrel like they did in the Ruger Go Wild and 7 PRC. Here they wanted to have the nice tight fit and finish, but it's just not rigid enough to do it. And so the stock in some ways is a huge win. I mean, it's awesome. It looks good. It added a bunch of functionality, especially for an inexpensive rifle. This beats the tar out of the Tikka T3X Super Light stock. The Tikka T3X Super Light stock is terrible. It just has a good barrel and action. But this is an upgrade from that. It has some features. They put some innovation into it, and I'm happy to see that. But will it shoot? I'm getting nervous out here with these groups. Yeah, feeding has just got little hang-ups everywhere. That's disappointing, because in our first Ruger Gen 2 review, we said that, you know, Ruger's fixed the feeding, and they had on the one that we have, the 223, no issues feeding, 100%. And this feels like, no, they're in 6.5 Creedmoor. No, there's some issues. Well, all right, this is where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's like a not quite 4-inch group. I'm not ready to call this thing a lemon yet. We got to check the scope ring, make sure all the screws are tight. I want to check the scope itself, check our action screws and clean it, go through all our due diligence and make sure, because usually Ruger Americans shoot well. Something just kind of weird. Here is our original 223 Ruger Gen 2. Action screw in the front, action screw there, normal spot. The Gen 1, action screw, action screw. This is our 6.5 Creedmoor, and action screw, nothing. So we're gonna have to contact Ruger here and figure out how to, I checked the torque spec of this one, but how do we check the action screw? We are moving to Hornady V-Match. The wind has really kicked up here. It's mostly behind us, almost no value. Well, okay, that's not a horrible group. We're probably at 1 inch there with the Hornady V-Match. All right, 2 groups that are nearing 1 inch, but not quite there, I don't think. All right, our conclusion on this thing. The last thing that I've got to point out is this scooped Monte Carlo stock is not at all my preference, and it's for exactly this reason. Hopefully you can see it on camera when my shoulder covers it up. So this is a comfortable height usually to shoot for me prone. But when I get on this gun, look, my shoulder is barely touching the top of the recoil pad because it's brought it down. Now that's reasonably convenient when you're shooting standing up to have it lower like that. But frankly, I don't shoot just standing unsupported hardly ever, especially with a bolt action rifle like this. And so for most positions, even shooting on a bench or prone at the range or hunting, it really puts the recoil pad in not a good position. I wish they had given a straight level here and even gone above bore. It would be really modern. I love that. But you'd have to have a folding stock for that. All right, last group. Last shot. We've shot now 6 5-shot groups on this rifle, and our last one comes out to 1.4 inches with a little forgiveness of the wind, but we're still just a little over 1 MOA on this rifle. So what's our review of the Ruger American Gen 2? Well, in 223, that we reviewed 1.5 years ago, that rifle is a 10 out of 10 for the price range that it is. That's an awesome gun. We're shooting half-minute groups. It feeds perfectly. Huge upgrade to the Ruger American platform. now seeing it in a second copy, now this 6.5 Creedmoor, the feeding was 90%. The stock quality has some nice upgrades for the price point that we're in. It looks phenomenal, and it shoots right around 1 MOA. And I think we could probably get it to 1 MOA with a little bit more testing, give it a cleaning on a non-windy day. We could probably get it to MOA. But that's it. And so not the cheap rifle with great accuracy that the Ruger American is known for. We just didn't see that prove out today. I still think the Ruger American Gen 2 is a great rifle, and when you get a good one, they're phenomenal, like our 223. Maybe what we've discovered today is some of the limits. But how does it compare to 90 bucks more in this particular case that we saw at the store to the Tikka T3X? We shall find out soon.